Blender tutorial making of a snowman. We're going to use Blender's 3D modeling to generate a typical snowy scene. And then we're going to take these properties and we're going to render it down into a 2D image. This 2D image we're going to put into GIMP and change the background and create a holiday scene. So let's get started. Hey, welcome to the Snowman tutorial. So we start off with the block in the center of the room. We're going to want to delete that. So you can press the delete key. Next you're going to want to add a mesh, and specifically the UV sphere. Now we probably want to scale that up a little bit, pressing S. And we want to bring it above let's call this our ground level, slightly. Okay, and now we're going to duplicate this by choosing Shift D, Enter. And we're going to bring our second snowball up, and we're going to press S. We're going to scale that down slightly and bring it up a little bit more, and maybe a little bit more. Again, I'm going to choose Shift D for duplicate and press Enter. Bring our third one up, and we're going to press S for scale and bring it down. That is the start of our snowman. Note, if at any time you want to see what it looks like with the camera angle, press F12. It's probably worthwhile selecting all by holding the Shift key and right-clicking on each one of these and pressing the S to scale it down and to move it back down a little bit. So now when I use the F12, there. And next we're going to bring in a cylinder, File, Add, Mesh. We're going to choose Cylinder. I'm going to bring that up. I'm going to scale that down as well. I'm going to use Shift and hold my scroll mouse so I can bring the object down further. Next we're going to duplicate this, Shift D, Enter, and now we're going to scale it with SZ because we want to scale it down. And now we're going to just choose regular S, scale it out, and we're going to push it down. Hopefully. And what we're going to do as well is we're going to hold Shift, right click on the top part of the hat, and we're also going to rotate ever so slightly back. And we're going to move it ever so slightly back as well. At this point I'm going to turn on Rotate Manipulator so I can rotate it exactly how I want to rotate it. And I'm going to go back to my move tool, and I'm going to take a look. The hat looks kind of small, so I think I'm going to scale it up ever so slightly. Be sure to often save your work. File and save. In this area, what you're going to do is make sure you're in a good spot on the drives. So here are your drives, your folders, and you want to make sure that you title it something that you'll recognize, preferably with your name on it. And click Save. Now next I want to make the eyes for the snowman. You would think that we would use a sphere this time, but let's try an iconosphere. What we want to do to that is to actually manipulate it. So we're going to go to Edit Mode, and we're going to select different parts of it and kind of destroy it so it's not too smooth. And come out of Edit Mode. And scale it down. And of course, we're going to duplicate. Shift D, Enter. Shift D once again. Scale it down. Shift D, Enter. Now the next thing I want to do is smooth over some of these bumps that are in the snowman. What we're going to want to do next is smooth over some of the bumps that are in these snowballs, and that's what we're going to use here. It's called the modifier. If you click on the wrench, add modifier, and choose subdivision surface, we can kind of round those off. So we select on each one, add subdivision, and add one subdivision. Okay, to build the nose, we're going to use a another mesh. I'm going to use the cone. Now the cone, we want to resize it. So we'll scale it down using S. Alright, and to rotate, or actually we'll move it first. Kind of move it in the region close to where we're going. Scale it down some more. And what we're going to do here is we're going to use the rotation widget just so we can look at the bottom of it. We're going to go into edit mode. What we're going to do is we want to select just the bottom. So we want to make sure we select the face select and select right click the bottom. We're going to click S on our keyboard and scale down that part of that their cone. Go back to the rotation widget, which I did not grab. Rotation widget. We're gonna move. Oh, okay. Common error. Okay. I'm gonna undo that. You want to make sure you get out of edit mode. We're gonna come out of edit mode, then rotate the object. Rotate it this way. And then we're going to get into move mode. And finally, try to get it where it belongs. There we go. Pretty good. Might need to do another rotation on it. Use the rotation widget. There we go. All right. For the arms, there's a variety of ways you can tackle this. I've actually experimented with a handful of them. Probably the easiest that I found is to go into add mesh and use the torus. Okay, the torus is interesting because it has like a donut shape to it. And what I found very useful is to kind of bring it into play here, rotate it using the rotation widget. And a combination of that and scaling. So I'm going to scale SZ. No, that's not it. SY. Bring that in. SX, which is kind of sort of like that. Okay, need to do a little bit more work with that. I think I'm going to rotate it some more. There we go. More scaling. There we go. S, and that was SZ. A little bit more rotation. That's better. Maybe, yeah, something like that. Alright, and I might even add a modifier subdivide that surface a little bit once over. And let's have a look. That'll do. That'll do. At some point you're going to want to experiment with lighting, because when we do the render, F12, we see a lot of shadow because there's only one light source. So this is the light source. Here we have one lamp. Let's experiment by adding another lamp. To do that, you go to Add, Lamp. And let's do another point. What I'd like to do is move it over to the other side to kind of get rid of some shadows. As you can see now, a lot of the shadows have gone. You want to be careful not to have too much light. I think I'm going to add one more. And try an area. And my goal here is to light up the backside of my subject. In a lot of ways it's too early to start to do too much for lighting, but just keep in mind as you get going you can add some light to modify how your shadows appear on your object. Now it's about time we add some color to our snowman. Keep in mind when you right click on each object, they are separate objects. In order to color the separate objects, we need to, select on one of them first. So I'm going to select on the hat, and over here on the far right we have this thing called material. On a material, we're going to add a new material, and we're going to rename that. We'll call that hat material, or hat black. And then I'm going to color that a black color. Right click on the bottom part of the hat, and I'm going to do this similar thing, and I'm going to actually apply, hat black to that with a render. There's the hat. And for the coal, we're going to want to do a similar thing. The reason why I'm going to actually create a different one is because I may want to have different shine to the hat as I do the coal. So for this, for the coal, I'm going to add a new material, and we're going to call that one coal. And choosing from the color wheel, I'm going to also use a black. And then I'm going to right click on each piece, and I'm going to apply the coal. Right click, coal. Right click, select coal. And for here, I'm going to do a new material. Call this one nose, and I'm going to give that one an orange color. If I render that out, I have a snowman with an orange nose. Looks good to me. Now these spheres are not a white color as of yet, so we need to actually apply a material for that. We're going to call it snow, and we're going to then be sure it's on the white spectrum. That's clearly a snowman. It's time to build our ground for our snowman, and we're going to do that using plane. So under add mesh, we're going to use plane, and we're going to make sure that it's kind of starts off in the region of the snowman, and also it's good to make sure that it's the same level as the snowman or slightly above. And what you're going to do is scale that. Something like that. And because the camera is pointed that way, we can actually kind of lean it towards the back there, where the opposite the camera. And we're going to choose add modifier, subdivide surface, and we're going to do that 2, maybe 3 times, 3 subdivisions. And next, we're going to go into edit mode. In edit mode, we're going to choose the vertex select. And we're actually going to subdivide this up too. So subdivide, subdivide. This subdivides the surfaces, and if we're in vertex mode, we can select and pull on different surfaces. We can select multiple by holding shift and selecting a variety of different ones. And if we pull on those, we'll get, kind of a hill. There's a way to select many at once, and that is the C key, and that allows you to select multiple vertices. And what you can do with that is pull those up and try to create a hill effect. Deselect, select using the C key, There's a few more things you can do to experiment with your background here. And that is, when in edit mode, and if you select multiple vertices, such as I am doing here, you could rise those up, but then come over here and choose smooth. I'll kind of round them off. So we do not have a material for this yet, so we're going to choose material. We're going to call this ground snow. And I'm going to make sure that it has a white. And now when we take a look at it, it should be much whiter. Now because snow should not reflect like that, you can change a variety of settings here, such as intensity. And this is the specular. This is how much it reflects. So and if you can see right here on the ball, you can see how much reflection it is. You can actually bring that down quite a bit. I've decided it's time to add a little bit more lighting to give it a better look and try to get rid of some of these shadows. So I make sure I'm in object mode before I add any new object. And so I'm going to go to lamp, and I'm going to try I'll try sun. And it starts way over here. That's because my 3D cursor is over here. So actually I might manually try to move it over here. Notice that's behind. That's behind the snowman. I need it to be somewhat above this, high above the snowman. And let's see what that does. Kind of illuminates the whole area. It's much nicer. Okay, I want to add a couple trees for my scene. I'm going to go to add and mesh, and I want to try using a cone. My cone is started below ground. Move that over. And get it so that it's around where it should be on the ground. And just like we did with the snowman, I'm actually going to do Shift D for duplicate, and then I'm going to press enter. Then I'm going to bring my second cone up and do the same thing, Shift D, and then I'm going to press enter. I'm going to bring that one up as well. Now because this is a new object that doesn't have any material yet, I'm going to add a new one, and I'm going to call this tree material, and I'm going to make sure that it is there we go, that's better. Whoops, a little too much. Alright, so you want to make sure you're in the diffuse, not the specular. Although that is an option for how it reflects. Alright. I'm going to right click on the other one. I'm going to apply that as well. And one more time. Now I'm going to shift select each one of these. So start with the bottom one, shift select the middle one, and shift select the top one. And I'm going to choose Shift D, enter, and take that duplicated tree and put it off into the distance. I'm going to put it a little higher here, and I'm going to scale it down using S. I actually may scale down the top layer of this one as well, of these. Remember to shift select all the layers, or all the parts, and choose Shift D, and then click Enter. Now the following tip is we're going to make a gift box to go with our snowman scene, if you're interested. We're going to start by adding a mesh. I'm going to add a cube. I'm going to move it over into position. And we're going to press S to scale it down. I'm going to have it on the ground. S to scale it back up a little bit. There we go. Now this is the trick here. We're going to go Shift D, Enter. I'm going to press S to scale it the whole thing up just a smidge. Then I'm going to actually scale in one way, scale down, scale in, kind of to make the ribbon. I'm going to right click on the box again, Shift D, Enter. This time, let's see, I'm going to scale it out that way, scale it up this way, push it in this way, something like that. It's a long box, but whatever. And next we're going to do the ribbon, which is adding a mesh. I like to do the torus here. Whoops. Let's move it first. Bring it down, bring it over, scale it down, put a little rotation on it, and then we're going to use a scale tool to kind of bring it in. There's a variety of things you can do to this if you wanted to. And then let's Shift D, Enter. And then I'm going to rotate this one around. Maybe rotate it over this way. Who knows? Something like that. Anyway, that's a general idea. It's up to you. Alright, now to get it to have that nice looking box texture and then the ribbon color, what we're going to do, first of all, is we're going to set the camera on it so that we can see the work. there's a trick for setting the camera to do exactly what you want, and that is to let's start with looking at the box with your general orientation, and then do Control-Alt-0. Now this sets the camera in some general sense. Shift F, move your mouse to the left, move your mouse down. Then you can scroll out a little bit, and as it moves by itself, you have to scroll back to stop it. And then you click. Now that's the new camera position. Really, really simple. It's very useful. Alright, now going to color this box. So we're going to right click on it. Let's see here. Let's see. Right click on the box. There we go. And we're going to add a material. I'm sorry. Yeah, we're going to add a material. Alright, and what we're going to do is once that material is added, let's call it wrap. I'm going to call this one wrap 2, I think, because I already have a box. We can just give a little color just so we can distinguish it when next time we click on it. That's a very useful trick, by the way. Then we're going to do is go to texture. You have to scroll up sometimes. There it is. When you get to texture, we're going to add new, and by default the material is our clouds. Let me move this over a little bit. Here we go. Clouds, and we don't really want that. We want to actually go to image or movie. Alright, now the image idea allows you to then open a file. Now I got a variety of different things in my, I press this button here to display all my pictures. I have a variety of GIF wrapped texture I've downloaded from the web. So I'm going to try this one here, Christmas wrap. Alrighty, and I think that's it. F12. Ooh, so now you see that ugly stripe look there. That is because what we need to do with that texture once it's on there is we have to go down to mapping, and where it says projection flat, we're going to choose cube, believe it or not. And it wraps the cube just such that it looks perfect. Alright, now that was the texture piece for the box, and what we're going to do to the ribbon, and I'm going to go to material, I'm going to add a new material there, and I think I'm just going to do a basic color. Let's see what goes with red, who knows, blue. Yeah, and then I'm going to choose this one called ribbon, or rib 2. And it looks like, so I'm going to right click on that one, and I'm going to do, find it, and I find it's called rib 2, there it is. Alright, taking a look at the box. Ugly wrapping paper design, but hey, I noticed it's a little thick right there, so just going back and editing, making that flatter. I'm also going to apply that to these. I think I can do it at once. Nope, I guess I can't. Hey, go back over there. There we go. There's a few things that I left out from in between the tutorial, including, but not limited to, adding a new plane of water. That's pretty straight up, you know, adding a mesh, and that was a plane, right, and render it down using a modifier called subdivision to make it round, changing its color, and expanding it however you want. And when you push it down into the ground, it takes form of whatever nearby water source or land source there is. Alright, I'm going to reset the camera. Remember to get a general orientation, which in this case will be right about there, and right about there. I'm going to do Control-Alt-0, and then I'm going to do Shift-F, scroll out just 1 or 2 clicks of scroll. The more you scroll, the faster it goes out. See? And I'm going to scroll back. I'm going to go up with my mouse, over to the right, a little bit down. In fact, I'm going to back it off a bit because our next step is to render this out as a picture. And I need some sky. I need some sky for this. Right about there. I think that's where it's going to be. Click. F12. Take a look at it. And there we are. Alright, the final phase of using Blender for this project to get it to go into an image so that we can work with it in our photo editor, GIMP in this case, is we need to make it a picture. Well, this is the project. This is what we're going to do. Go to the render button, which is the camera. And what we're going to do is just look through this a little bit and make sure that we're using PNGs. Great. Okay. Then we're going to come over here to image. We're going to do save as image. Now this gives us a chance to change the name, and I'm going to call this one Snowman Vinyl. It's good to put your name on your files, by the way. Make sure it's in the correct folder. And save as image over here in the far right. So I've opened the new PNG image in GIMP. And next, what we need to do is open as layers for and bring in our background choice. In this case, I found an image that I liked to use. First things first, I'm going to scale it up. I want to make sure it fits my screen. Oops, wrong one. Let's see, make sure I'm selected on that. There we go. Scale, scale. I'm going to stretch it. In this case, I'm going to stretch probably something like that. There we go. And remember to hit scale when you're done. I'm going to throw it in the back. And once I have it in the back, I'm going to use the fuzzy select tool. Oh, just before I do that, I'm going to make sure, I right click on the top layer. I'm going to add the alpha channel. That makes it invisible, or it makes it transparency. So I'm going to use the fuzzy select my areas here. I'm going to also look and see that it's how well it does. Okay, that's pretty good. I'm happy with that. I'm going to hit the delete key. Alright, select none, and you're welcome to use your text as you already know how. Change up the color, increase the size, and then move it in. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you for watching.